Hello, I'm Ben. Welcome to the channel. So today we're talking about a book that's been around since about 100 years ago. My copy specifically was printed in 1936, but this is Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Here's my copy of it, and you can see there what that is. And I wanted to talk a little bit about this book today because this is on my list of 60 books that I reread every year. I think I've mentioned those quite a few times on the channel. But this book specifically gives you some insight in many different venues, which would be useful in several different types of relationships, from business to personal to hierarchy and those that would report to you, etc. And you can see the thumbnail there. This I actually found on LinkedIn. It was somebody that did just a little thumbnail of the book. But I thought it was worth diving into and talking about it briefly and tell you some key points from the book. So when you're going through something like this, I always underline the stuff that stands out to me. And so in this book, there are pages that are underlined. But I do that to highlight notes so when I go back, I can just grab those from each page as I'm going chapter by chapter and getting out what's great about it. The cool thing is at the end of each chapter, it has like a little summary. At the end of each chapter, it tells you a little bit about each suggestion around ways to influence people and impact how your communication could be successful with those folks. So let's jump into it. Number one, the book tells you, it suggests that you smile. Often even in bad situations, if you smile, things get easier, they look easier, they look up, and it creates a positive trend in the room and actually can impact other people's attitude. I've seen a lot of fights being in the bodyguard world and the security world. I've seen a lot of stuff break out just because people's facial response to other people. So be aware of your face and what it's doing. If you're, a grin, you don't have to be cheesing like an idiot, but just a slight grin to people and a nod can make people move on by. Whereas a look that's stern or something else can cause problems in some places that can get you killed. So as dumb as that is, just know that smile, it does have power. And the idea in your life should be that you want to have power over the environment around you. You don't want the environment to have power over you. So if you let stuff just roll off your back and you smile, that will have a different impact on the room. And if you maintain a stoic attitude and smile, it takes the power out of anybody that thinks they had their thumb on you. So that's just the number one suggestion from the book is smile. Second suggestion for the book is always begin in a friendly way. I always think a handshake and I always touch the person's back of their hand and I say their name back to them when I'm meeting them. When you do that, it shows you took the time to hear their name, to listen to what they were saying. And then when you start your feedback back, you're giving their name back because we like to hear our name. Subconsciously, there's a psychological value point to that. We like to hear our name. We like to know that people know our names. So that's something that is within our human nature. So if you do those things, it can serve you there in that capacity. The next is let the other person save face. So if there's a situation where either someone's going to eat crow and look ridiculous about something, just change the subject. Do something else to let the other person save face. If you're not trying to embarrass a person, and what do you gain when you do embarrass a person? So you gain the possibility of that person never talking to you again. You gain the opportunity for that person to actually think that you're something you're not, or you're a foe of some sort. That's not what you need. So a lot of times the easiest way is just let the other person save face. Don't claim or holler out what you know if you know something that would change the situation, and just let it digress in its natural way and go away in its natural way. So that's a great suggestion. The next is don't criticize, condemn, or complain. There's an old saying that says I can't remember it right now, don't complain. And it basically came back to if you complain, the people that you would complain to don't care about it anyway. And, in recent years with memes and everything else, the one resounding thing that I would say that's out there that you hear over and over and over again, the saying goes, don't explain or complain. If you have to explain yourself, someone wasn't listening in the first place, and you have to complain, they're not going to be bought into what you're saying as resolution anyway. So don't explain or complain. That was the old saying. But basically, if you don't criticize, condemn, or complain, you stay in a positive light. And sometimes people overhearing people say negative things or something that resounds in a negative manner, that can have an impact on how they view you. So that's why you don't want to criticize, condemn, or complain, because no matter what the situation is, there's a solution to get out of it. And no matter what someone's done to put themselves in that situation, we've all done something just as stupid or just as ridiculous to put ourselves in an equal situation. So that's what that does. It gives them the value of character when you had the opportunity to diminish it, which you shouldn't in most cases. Give honest and sincere appreciation. I think this is a huge one. I can't stand fake people. Most of us out there know what fake people are. So give honest and sincere appreciation. When you do appreciate what people do, say it and say it often. Every week, people give you reasons to be grateful for their presence and for their efforts. So look for those reasons and give appreciation for that. Next is let the other people do all the talking. I think that's good to a point, but we all have one life to live, right? And it can be very short. So if someone's going on and on and on and on, excuse yourself. Say, excuse me for a minute. Let me check on something. I'll be right back. Excuse yourself from the situation to the point that doesn't embarrass them, but let other people do all the talking. When people are talking, they're telling you what interests them and what they want. They're also telling you, if it's a business aspect, what their problems are, what you can do to solve those things, and where you can make some money off of that deal too. So listening gives you better options than talking. So just think about that. Also, if you're talking, you're telling other people how to beat you in the long run anyway. So make sure you have that top of mind. Let the other people do all the talking. The next point was to get the best of an argument, avoid it. I have an old saying, and it's not just mine, it's in many, many sales books. I think the one that comes to mind right now is Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone. You do not win an argument. Nobody can win an argument. In this negotiation book by Chris, I think it's Voss, V-O-S-S, what he says, the best outcome you have in an argument is two losers, right? So even if they negotiate down to a certain understanding, both of them lose at that point because neither one of them are getting what they want. Chris Voss said that. So as you get into something and it starts to resemble an argument, avoid it. Get out of it. There's not going to be any win there. Even if someone thinks completely opposite of you, you can still understand the situation if you put yourself in their shoes. So, ask questions rather than giving orders, and that will help you avoid an argument. Okay? Ask questions. Next is show respect for other people's opinions. Sometimes the easiest way to show respect for other people's opinions is to have no comment. That's fine. That is a fine way to respect someone else's opinion, is have no comment. I would say at one point most people have logical opinions, but this is 2024. And what the last 5 years have taught us is that is a complete farce. All right, there are people out there that have the most outlandish Looney Tune thoughts in their head. So you just have to sometimes navigate around that. So show respect for other people's opinions, even if that means you just don't participate. Okay? Always begin with praise and appreciation. Always do that. Say, hey guys, we're coming a long way since the last time. This is what's next on the agenda. By doing that small thing. When I used to go around the country fixing broken plants and broken businesses, one of the first things people said to me after negotiating and greeting the team and negotiating our process and where we're at to where we're going to be and how we're going to get there, I always had a better buy-in. And the reason I had a better buy-in is I started with gratitude and I started with a positive attitude. If these people are the worst in the business and the worst in the company, think about how often they're hearing that. And I would go in and say, hey guys, this is where we're at. It's been sustained, which shows you can do stuff around sustaining a certain policy or price point or quality metrics or production expectation. The point is, even if you start from zero, you're starting somewhere. Okay, so when you go in and say, hey, we've been able to sustain what we're doing, now what we're going to do is take it up a notch. Instead of me saying you're the worst in the country, say, hey, there's another location that was just like this, and this is where we're at now, and this is what we did to change it. And you guys are already starting to do this stuff, so let's dive in and get the full impact. It's just that simple. And once you get people and you show, they see that you're honest in that, and you're giving them a way and you're leading them through it, you can turn any team and any business around, and that's how you do it. Okay? It's a really great book with all these suggestions, and these are just some off the top, guys. There's tons in this book. Here's my suggestion. Buy yourself a copy of this book. It is Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. It will be one of the best buys you should get, and it should be, if you have a 20-book library, this should be one of them. Okay? Next is remember the other person's name. We talked about that earlier. Become genuinely interested in other people. We talked about that earlier. Talk in terms of the other person's interests. So even when you're selling stuff, they call that value selling. You're basically giving them back the information they gave you and telling them how they're going to use this product and how it's going to help them reach their goals. That's what you're doing. You're telling the other person, you're talking to them into the point of their interest, which now you're not talking about price, you're talking about deliverables. So that's a positive conversation anyway. When wrong, admit it quickly and definitively. I do that. I think especially if you're leading teams, nothing's more important than that. I think one of the pieces of character that people want to know that's there is that if you make a mistake, you don't try to blame it on someone else. I say flat out, guys, this is my fault. This is miscommunication. I wasn't clear. Here's a clear expectation. We'll do this moving forward. We'll start with right now and see where we're at by the end of the day, end of the week, end of the month, etc. So accept that responsibility. Say it widely and proudly so everyone knows, so no one can claim. That way the truth is out there. And that will help buy in people's attitudes about you, where they say, hey, this is an honest person. When he had a mistake, he didn't try to blame someone else. He said it was on him or on her. That's a good way to make friends right there. Next is arouse an eager want within the other person. So arouse an eager want within the other person. Make sure you're listening. That's the benefit of not talking so much earlier. By listening, they're going to tell you what they need. And if you can arouse that want in them, you can get them to move with you, and you can move mountains with someone that's that well motivated. Be a good listener. Let others do more talking. It's getting repetitive a little bit, though. There are 3 more points here we'll go through. Go out of your way to make people feel important. That's extremely, extremely good point. Publicly praise another person's accomplishments. Absolutely. When you publicly praise your team, you create more win opportunities. And by creating more wins or celebrating a win, more wins are going to come, because that's just, people get excited about it at that point because they want to continue to celebrate the win. So publicly praise the other person's accomplishments. And the last highlight on this is try to see things from the other person's point of view. We talked about that. There was a joke. If you don't like somebody you disagree, walk a mile in their shoes, and then you're a mile away and you have their shoes, right? So that's a funny way to look at it. But the truth is, if you can show empathy well enough to try to think about where a person is coming from, a lot of times people will have a motivation that you can understand, even if it's from a small point of their situation where you can understand. So that's a way to think about that. So this book has tons of other suggestions. It has great chapters. Each chapter, it can be read as its own. I highly, highly suggest this book. It is one that I reread every year. Let me give you some of the chapter headings. Do this and you'll be welcome anywhere. The next chapter is a simple way to make good first impression. The third is, if you don't do this, you are headed for trouble. The fourth is an easy way to become a good conversationalist. The fifth is how to interest people. The sixth is how to make people like you instantly. So if any of that sounds like something you're interested in, this would be a good read. And we'll go ahead and read through that too. You can't win an argument. A sure way of making enemies and how to avoid it. If you're wrong, admit it. The high road to a man's reason. The secret of Socrates. The safety value in handling complaints. How to get cooperation. A formula that will work wonders for you. What everybody wants. An appeal that everybody likes. The movies do it. Radio does it. Why don't you? When nothing else works, try this. And let me read. I'll keep reading these headings to just kind of give you an idea of where the book's coming from. If you must find fault, this is the way to begin. How to criticize and not be hated. Talk about your own mistakes first. That's a great suggestion. Talk about your own mistakes first. No one likes to take orders. Let the other man save his fate. I agree with that. Let the other man save face. How to spur men into success. Give the dog a good name. Make fault seem easy to correct. Make people glad to do what you want. The next and final is how to dig your marital grave in the quickest way possible. Love and let live. Do this and you'll be looking up at the timetables to Reno. 4, a quick way to make everybody happy. 5, they mean so much to a woman. 6, if you want to be happy, don't neglect this. And 7, don't be a marriage illiterate. So you can see the book's got a lot of great stuff in it. Extremely, extremely well written, and it's used all the time for articles and subject matter for other books. So get that if you haven't got it. Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you like videos like these and subject matter such as this, please subscribe. I'm Ben. Be good.